On Monday, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission of Nigeria sealed off a Chinese supermarket at the city of Abuja. The supermarket is located within the vicinity of the China Chamber of Commerce in Nigeria. This came after a disgruntled Nigerian went on social media to display his displeasure after he was denied entry into the supermarket. A lot of Nigerians have a lot to say about it. Some have called it racism in our homeland, while others have called it the right of the supermarket to have rules and regulation that guide the people that come to shop with them. But today we're going to look at the rights of the citizens as consumers and also the right of the supermarkets to have laws that guide their businesses in Nigeria. My name is Adewale Olashopo and this is THESTEAM. To discuss more on this today, I'm joined by Yakub Onimode, a public commentator. Welcome to the program.
So, Ali, it's a pleasure. Good to be here again after a while.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. The last time we were here, we were talking about something different. And exactly. And today we're looking at what seems to be everywhere on social media right now, what is on the lips of every Nigerian. But looking at the story itself, I'm sure you're familiar with it. How does that reckon with you?
For some of us who have been active on the social space, this is not new, I must say. On the continent, it is not new. In Nigeria, it is not new. However, as it relates to the Chinese or China as a nation itself, who has a bilateral relationship with Nigeria, it is new. And so that's why it meets some of us as a surprising outing. And noting that this is happening in our nation's capital is the reason why a whole lot of us will not want to keep quiet about this.
Exactly, and it's surprising to me if we can start the conversation even starting from the medium with which this was that went viral. It was a disgruntled a shopper that was denied entry into the supermarket that went viral, that went on social media to express his displeasure and to vent his anger. And from there, we've seen the authority, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission of Nigeria, swing into action to make sure that they visit the vicinity. Not only there, they sealed up the supermarket, pending the time that the owner would come to their office to give clarity to what happened. But looking at the medium with which this has happened, the social media itself, this seems to be one of the tools that we've been used to the Nigerians to express their mind.
Very well, very well. Anyway, as far as social media is concerned, I dare say social media has come to stay. We wouldn't know what exactly, if there will be other medium in another decade, in another 2-3 decades. But this is us saying social media has come to stay. And to the FCCPC, this is also saying while this can be used, while the social media information, as it were, if it hadn't gone on social media, perhaps that individual who, the disgruntled person, wouldn't have had the privilege of even visiting the FCCPC. Perhaps the person is not even aware that there's a body of such. So this is also calling on our system, the managers of our nations, to make a good use of this medium to reach more people as it relates to security, information sharing. The proper news are not always when things goes out. Not always
exactly, Mr. Shola. We'll come to that conversation later about the agencies in Nigeria that are saddled with the responsibility to protect consumer rights and also citizens' rights in the country as it relates to businesses. But let's start with the conversation today with these people, this Chinese Chamber of Commerce, and looking at the place it was even located, the supermarket itself. This says something about how we're being treated abroad. People can live with that, but within our own country?
Okay, to our viewers, it's important to note that Nigeria and China had, before now, until this moment, and as far as I'm concerned, this is not a threat to our relationship.
Of course.
Nigeria and China has had a robust relationship from the signing of the bilateral agreement between Nigeria and China since 1971, February 10, 1971. I need to also let Nigerians understand that upon the declaration of independence of Nigeria in 1961, in 1960, the Chinese government recognized the independence of the Nigerian nation. You will want to say, how does that affect? There are nations that get independence and some other national leaders say they're not recognizing them as countries. So China haven't accepted and welcoming the independence of the Nigerian nation, and it's further going ahead to further establish relationship with Nigeria. Just about 10 decades after shows a whole lot. And in 2005 we had further deepened our relationship, which has also paved the way for the China-Africa relationship. So this is saying we as nations, as a continent, and as a nation leading the continent, ourselves, our country, and China have had robust relationship.
And I think people would not deny with
of
you,
course,
Mr. Shola,
then,
that the relationship between Nigeria and China is quite a seamless, strong relationship. True. For instance, China is Nigeria's largest trading partner. We import more than 23% of our total import into the country comes from the country. But the conversation is about how foreigners come into the country and treat locals and nationals in the country. So if we can experience this racism abroad in whatever country Nigerians travel to, what does it say that Nigerians in their home country, in their homeland, are still treated the same way by these people? If I could cite an example with for you, Mr. Shola, before you go ahead to answer to that question. There was a time in 2020, during the time of the lockdown and all of that, there was a Chinese couple in the city of Abuja, and they locked in 8 of their domestic workers. Of course, after the news went viral on the social media, they were called in for questionings, and the workers later said perhaps they were not locked in, it was their own rules, but we could see that their human rights were violated. But looking at different people coming to the country, we talked about the Lebanese, we talked about other foreign nationals coming into the country and treating Nigerians badly. What exactly does it say about our country, and what do you think should be done differently to serve as a deterrence to other foreign nationals?
Like you said, the bilateral agreement between Nigeria and China will not be a basis for us to shy away from the reality.
Exactly.
Having a business in a country, yes, you have your rules, but one will be quick to remember that when you have a law that is based on another law, what it means is when you as a business have your laws or your rules that guide your businesses, that law is, as far as Nigeria is concerned, that law is subject to the Nigerian law. It also means for every other rule that is in place to protect Nigerians in their home country, that business will be subject to it. Any other aspect of that, your rules or your laws, as it were, that goes against the Nigerian law, will, as far as the Nigerian law does not support it, will frown at it. Setting up businesses exclusively for specific individuals, to me, globally, it is not alien. Now, what we're trying to put to perspective, we're not going to be sounding as though we're speaking only for Nigeria. We're trying to approach the issue, not specifically. If it had happened to a Ugandan in Nigeria, would we be saying the same? We're speaking to the issue. So what we're saying now is, as the establishments of these businesses, perhaps the reasons for putting such rules that it's going to be specifically for Chinese or those that work with them is it might simply be about some of these commodities, some of these foreign expatriates who are in Nigeria might require some local delicacies that can only either be gotten from China or that are limited. Hence, they want to make this available. But then having a population of over 250 million or about 6-point-something million as the nation's capital had, patronizing that store will quickly deplete what they have. That might just be a good argument in support of them.
That is an argument.
However, that's in support of the business owners. However, having this and locking out without clear reasons is what we will not find out. A whole lot is flying on the social media, and someone wants to find out, is there something that the Chinese, the management of these Chinese stores are hiding from Nigerians, that they feel when Nigerians get to find out, it will go out of proportion, and then the truth will be revealed. This is the aspect of this this discussion that we really need to strike and iron out. As far as we are concerned, from the social critic and public commentator angle, we are saying the FCCPC, yes, you've been able to sail. It is not enough. It should go all out. Find out as at when, what was the conditions. We learned that from the report we had, that this store had never been locked to Nigerians from the onset.
And I think
at some point it was open, and along the line
it's quite
it got
important
closer.
that we put
these
context
are some of the aspect
Mr.
we're trying to get.
Just to allow Nigerians to understand it. Prior to last year, one of the security officials, this is a statement I'm saying now from one of the security officials at the restaurant at the Chamber of Commerce, stated that last year the store was open to all Nigerians.
Exactly.
But this year they got a new directive that only Chinese nationals, people that work
and those who work within the space of the Chamber of Commerce.
And we cannot tell, perhaps even perhaps Nigerians that are working there are allowed to be there. We're not in the know. But we are saying that, just like as you've mentioned earlier, whatever laws that they've put in place has to be subject to the Nigerian constitution. That any Nigerians cannot be discriminated against
in our own nation, in our own country, it will not be
want to interpret that. So that is not acceptable. But looking at the conversation itself, we talked about the issue of how this was how social media was able to help amplify the voice of people. But looking at the swift response of this agency, a lot of people are saying perhaps they were put on pressure to respond by Nigerians. Are we seeing equivalents in other sister agencies in Nigeria?
Whether or not they are put on pressure, I would simply say for any agency that is saddled with protecting the fundamental human rights of any individual anywhere in the world, they are always on pressure. Always under pressure. We will expect, as we expect the fire service approach, that's a common phrase that we use. Every agency, whatever happens to anybody, as we say, a delay in justice is justice denial. So for the FCCPCs to have responded within 24 hours, it is kudos to them. However, can other agencies copy from this? One will also say, well, FCCPC had responded in this swift order if it had happened in maybe Kano, maybe somewhere in Bayelsa, maybe somewhere in Ilaje, somewhere deep in Ekiti, or somewhere in Kogi. Could it be because the FCCPC is just within the nose of the president? Could that be the reason why they are responding? But for whether that is true or not, we're not really going to beat ourselves on whether or not a factor motivated their response. But we are saying this is an agency that has chosen or that has lived to their mandate of being established, and responding to this, we are giving kudos to them, and where this is calling on other sister agencies to respond. Of course, we know a whole lot of others who have not been up to date. But however, this is not supposed to be a basis for us to downplay the works of other agencies.
Exactly. But another angle that a lot of Nigerians are looking at is the interpretation of laws itself and rules. For instance, we look at the directive that we've told, we can't really confirm right now if that directive was given, that from this year other Nigerians are not allowed to access the supermarket. And I'm looking at the interpretation of law even from the law enforcement agency in Nigeria. People police officers going into people's privacy, collecting their phones and their laptops and watching the kind of things that they have in there. It's against Nigerians' rules and regulation. So are we saying that these rules were taken out of context by the security operatives that were stationed there? Because as at this morning, we seen that the owner of the supermarket has fled.
Okay, very well. I must say, personally, I made an effort to reach the FCCPC on their communication lines, even though the response I got was about that I needed to approach the agency directly in person, and which I haven't done until this moment. However, fleeing, one will expect that when you are accused, you want to come out to clarify issues. That's a way to douse tension, if at all there is any. However, security agencies reporting and other media organizations reporting that at the time of getting to the supermarket, the person behind the management fled. It's a more reason why we should press further. Also, looking at the aspect of whether or not rules can be made for separate people. Of course, rules can be made for separate people. But it's about the police going into people's privacy and searching for whatever they were looking for. I should say now that it is, from the statement of the police public relations officer, it is a crime. No policeman should check. It is your handset, your cell phone, is your privacy. However, where there is a search warrant, the police reserve the right to take away some of your rights, including asking for details and accessing your devices when there is a reason to do so. So we wouldn't say because this is your fundamental human right, these devices are yours. For that reason, we allow you to do whatsoever
that
it is you want.
comparison was just made to make you understand that there are some people, the law enforcement or people that are guided, that are saddled with responsibility to carry out an assignment, to go overboard without being told beyond what they have been told to do so. But also looking at how a lot of Nigerians are talking about, we have expatriates in the country, and they are benefiting a lot from our economy, from our cheap goods in the country, from cheap petroleum, and they're staying in the country without any problem or any cause for worry. But the reciprocal action that we're getting from them is not marrying with what we are supposed to get from them. So how else do you think the country, the government itself, can make sure that the rights of Nigerians are not trampled upon by whatsoever reasons we have expatriates in the country, or people that consider themselves higher humans than other people?
Okay, very well. Let's make it clear. The relationship between countries, presently Nigeria and China, I'm going back to the very country that whose essence is the base of our discussion today. Nigeria and China had a bilateral relationship, and when you hear bilateral relationship, it does mean that this relationship is positive, affecting both ends. So when you hear the Nigeria-China bilateral relationship, it does mean China is benefiting from Nigeria as much as Nigeria is benefiting. However, of course, developing countries and developing nations, the benefits might not be completely it might not be balanced across board. Regardless of that, both countries that are in this relationship are benefiting. It means Nigeria is benefiting from whether fund, whether loans, whether technology, whether hospitality, and as well the country that is introducing this technology. It means they have it. They just want to introduce it to other countries. So that's what bilateral relationship means. It means both countries are benefiting from it. As to exploring and benefiting from countries, I must re-emphasize the fact that no country on the planet lives, exists, and survives on its own. Not even North Korea. That is almost completely...
what an interesting example you've made there. But the essence, Mr. Shola, if I could come in this part, the essence of the United Nations body is to look at the equality of all nations, whether big nations or small nations, whether you have a 1.4 billion population in the world or you have 200 million, as in case Nigeria and China. The relationship is still very mutual, very... respectful. It's a respected relationship on both sides, but we're not looking at the government part, because we understand governance will go on its own and the people-to-people relationship would also go side by side itself. But looking at what has happened so far now, coming on the issue of consumer protection in Nigeria, there are a lot of agencies Nigerians are not aware of. For example, we mentioned the FCC, the Federal the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission in Nigeria. We mentioned the issue of Standard Organization in Nigeria, issue of NAFDAC, issue of some other agencies that Nigerians are not even perhaps aware of, or maybe they are aware of them, they cannot even approach them. They don't know the measures to approach them. What exactly are you telling to Nigerians and also to these agencies to be more open, or different channels with which they can communicate easily? So that Nigerians themselves can get value for what they are being established to do. To put this
into proper perspective, when laws exist, they are driven by actors who enforce these laws. Not being aware of these laws is your fault. Now, laws are not secret documents.
Nigerians cannot be aware of what they're not told.
Okay, when you say not told, This is relative. Now, this is us saying. This is us. This is us saying.
The argument here,
okay,
the argument here is that these people are saddled with the responsibility of doing something.
Of course,
we have to know what they are doing. You cannot expect all the everyday Nigerians to understand the essence of the government is to make sure that the rights of people are protected.
Of course, yeah.
And if people are not aware of that, of course, ignorance of the law itself is not an excuse.
That's the basis I'm coming from.
But you're not committing a crime in this regard. Your rights has been trampled upon and you need to be protected. So if they do not know the channels with which they can lay these complaints and all of that, then it defeats the essence
of the law itself,
of the establishment of these agencies. So what channels do you think these agencies can use to communicate to Nigerians to make sure that they are fully aware of their rights and the channels with which they can seek redress?
Very well. Oh, okay, quickly. As far as social media is concerned, every item, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is on that space. However, I dare say one of the cheapest, including agencies or governments, one of the cheapest means to get to the people in 2024 is through social media, including your radio systems. However, on this platform, more than once I have said, I am saying again, this is again calling on the National Orientation Agency. This agency, with due respect, is not doing enough. We're calling on the National Orientation Agency to speak up, come up with public-oriented information sharing, fast ones, whatever method they think they can devise. Let people understand that there's an agency like FCCPC, there's an agency called NAFDAC. So Nigerians should not see this agency as self-serving. They are out there to protect your interests. So when you go to a store somewhere, just about some 6 months ago, the trend on social media across Nigeria was about fake products. You'll be surprised that just somebody went to a store, picked one, and only for the same FCCPC to go around stores, and they were finding hundreds in tons of products that are fake across the country, including within the nose, including before the nose of the president in the nation's capital. So why Standard Organization of Nigeria should be doing this? National Orientation Agency needs to understand that there is an agency called Standard Organization. That's their job. The job of the National Orientation Agency is to carry the information and run with it and tell everybody across every corner. So when you just get Hilux vans and sit in one office enjoying the life of your head, and now that's not to say that's what they're doing, but we understand that they can do so much. They can do so much more than this. So let's our media organizations, particularly as driven by the National Orientation Agency, go all out. Use every medium that the young people take informations around. So if I may say, faster. So use the social media, use the radios. Sometimes we will have some of these bosses in the across state capitals. Simple informations of this. So interestingly, when some of these things come, just after about a week or two, the wind blows it away, and we just go back to status quo. But there is NAFDAC, there is SON, there is FCCPC, even the EFCC. If you suspect somebody, ICPC, you can go there, ICPC. So a whole lot of these agencies. And citizens should also be informed. Nigeria Police, let people be aware that there's an aspect of our law where citizens are allowed to arrest. It is called citizens' arrest. You can arrest your neighbor if you feel he's a criminal and hand it over to the law.
That's a conversation that we'll go to later. But lastly, before I let you go, Mr. Shola, we still must understand that this is still being investigated, and the outcome itself is still subject to whatever the investigative committee have been able to come up with the investigation and questioning, and so far that they're going to conduct. But what exactly are you looking forward to come out of this investigation? Whether or not they found wanting for this crime or not, if we can even call it a crime right now. But what exactly come out of it is still going to determine how people are going to react to it, react to other incidents to come. So what exactly are you looking forward to from this case?
Moving forward, and at this point, I like to play the prophet and the devil's advocate at the same time. Now, I like to play the role of the prophet because I wouldn't want Nigerians to expect that at the end of this investigation, that the chamber, the supermarket, must be found wanting. When you have that decision behind on your mind already, what you've established within you is, if the investigation is contrary to your belief, you wouldn't accept it. So let's have an open mind. However, let the agency responsible do a thorough job. When you do a thorough job and you give us evidence as to what you have found out, we will believe you. However, when there are gray areas we point out and you are not looking at, we're asking first, why did somebody flee? If that is answered, why was it open initially, along the line, close to Nigerians? As for those who are Nigerians who are serving there, I wouldn't want to give you an experience. I was once at the Chamber of Commerce, myself as a person, in Abuja here. And the welcoming was nice. I was going to do something about climate change, which is my interest, about bicycles in the nation's capital. But the response was not so beautiful. It was nice at the beginning, and along the way, we had to end it. And we ended it nicely because, yes, I was glad I ended it, and for them too. So we are saying, we're not looking out to blackmail any organization, any country at all, whether we have a nice history with you, but for this very one, for this very information out, the SON work with the FCCPC, work with the police and every other organization involved. Let this be swift. The report shouldn't come out after 2 years. The report should be as swift as possible, and the document should be made open. So basically what we're saying is, the system should investigate this thoroughly and be swift about it. This is to set this as a tone for others who might either have having, yes, no one is guilty of intent. Intentions are not judged. So whatever organization that is either been doing this before now and the law has not caught up with them, perhaps nobody has gone on social media to speak about it. This should serve as deterrent to them. And for those who are planning to do it, they might want to shelve the plan. If we do not bring a holistic closure to this, we might just find ourselves in another banana republic where everything goes.
And that's where we draw the conversation to a close today. Thank you so much, Mr. Shola.
It's a pleasure being on your set again, Mr. Adewale.
Thank you so much. And thank you to our viewers at home or wherever you are in the world. As you've heard from Mr. Shola Onimodu, it's important that the government should always take up action and make sure that the rights of every citizen in Nigeria are protected, no matter where or who they are. My name is Adewale Olashupona, to come your way next time to discuss another important topic as it affects Nigeria and Nigerians. Bye for now.